At the beginning of this century, when climbers began to travel widely in search of new climbs, an attempt was made to collate the different difficulties each offered so that a stranger would know whether or not it was in his capabilities. And though the British, the French, the Swiss, and the Italians each produced a different system of classification for their own mountains, the systems roughly agreed in recognizing six grades of severity, from easy to extremely difficult. Warning that a face was at the upper end of the scale was usually enough to deter beginners from tackling it, while most climbers were content to confine themselves to those in the middle band. The systems thus achieved their purpose. But just before the outbreak of the Second World War, a new spirit took hold of the top class European climbers, which made the classification of the most spectacular climbs thenceforth attempted and achieved more and more difficult. The spirit was that of extreme climbing, climbing to the limits of what is physically and psychologically possible by artificial methods. The use of metal pegs hammered into the rocks on faces where no natural hand or footholds can be found. These methods simulated a violent hostility among the traditional alpinists, who had developed a romanticist philosophy of mountaineering, which laid stress on its spiritual value to man through the harmony it endangered between him and nature, leading them to describe the extremist feats as perversions, degradations, and evil demonstrations. And the outcome of the best publicized of the early essays in the extreme technique, the 1935 and 1936 attempts on the unclimbable north face of Eiger, which killed all six of those who set foot on it, lent force to their disapproval by suggesting that they were indeed affronts which the very spirit of the mountains were not prepared to tolerate. By 1938, however, the North Face was conquered by extreme technique, and since the war has been climbed again and again. By the 1960s, the mere ascent was commonplace. Additional hazards were sought to add spice and sensation to that climb and to others, climbing in the depths of winter, or climbing direct up the line, which a drop of water would follow if it fell directly from the summit. Finally, climbing both direct and in winter. At first on lesser peaks like the Clima Grande and the Dolomites, ultimately on the Eiger itself. But by the time this stage had reached, the classical grading systems had lost most of their meaning. Much of the climbing was for standard 5 or 6, but the technical difficulties paled besides the objective dangers. The volleys of stones traveling at killing speeds down the face, or the showers of ice splinters, the avalanches, the lightning strikes, to which the extreme climber, hung about with the ironware of his fad, actually acted as a point of attraction, while the objective dangers were themselves overshadowed by what we may call, though it is not a term mountaineers use, the subjective dangers. For several days on the big faces, and several days was what super directissima demanded, drove men to the end of their physical resources, and with their strength and there went their will and their courage, upon which everything else in extreme climbing depends. Climbing, always a test of nerve and physical skill, had been transformed by the mania of the extremists, who are now using electric drills, expanding bolts, and what looks to the ignorant suspiciously like pieces of scaffolding in their search for more and more direct lines in a battle of attrition in which willpower and endurance were paramount. Interesting stuff. Oh, hello. I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was reading The Face of Battle, but it was actually about mountain climbing for some reason. He was talking about how when they put down an original idea of how they should rate the mountains, people were reasonable and they didn't want to climb crazy mountains and they didn't want to drill pegs into the holes and they didn't want to climb directly up the route from which the water came. But as mountain climbing went on, became a more hardcore hobby. People wanted this, and pretty soon the classification system meant nothing. It didn't matter at all, and it kind of reminds me of Bitcoin. It started out very small. People wouldn't do a lot of things. Now everyone will do anything. They're willing to do anything now, And are they going to climb new mountains? Are they going to make it commonplace to climb these once unclimbable mountains? I don't know. We're going to find out. Just like to ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. Today is Wednesday, August 29th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.54% in the last 24 hours, or what feels like the last 20 minutes. As you can see, we had a drop here around, looks like 7:30 a.m., so just about when everyone's getting up, and we are at 6,965 with a high of 7,124 and a low of 6,926. Checking out the price of $1 in Satoshis, it's $1 for 14,348 Satoshis. We are still underneath the 15,000 Satoshi barrier, at least for now. Checking out the top 10 altcoins sorted by volume against the price of Bitcoin. Ethereum down 1.75%. Bitcoin Cash down 1.25%. EOS up 2.25%. Ripple down 1.25%. Litecoin down 1.25%. Ethereum Classic up 50%. Up half a point. Dash down 0.75%. Ontology down 9%. Yow. And Tron down 5%, rounding out the top 10 altcoins. Checking out the most popular distributed applications, IDEX remains above 2,000 users for the second day in a row, with Fork Delta, the other exchange, following behind with 1,200. Ethereum in the top 5 with 500 users. CryptoKitties 400. POW H3D with 376. Bancor just on the edge of the top 5 with 353 daily active users. Augur had 28. Blockchain activity matrix. EOS, Steem, BitShares still being used. It looks like Steem is probably permanently past BitShares, on its way down. Ethereum is still full with 67,000 unconfirmed transactions, while it looks like Bitcoin got another block and is only 53% at capacity. Checking out our Tallycoin fundraiser that you can donate to right now using Bitcoin. It'll make a beeping sound. It'll interrupt the show. The little mountains on the chart will move. Any amount of Bitcoin you can donate now to help support the World Crypto Network. Prove that Tallycoin works by donating Bitcoin now. I'm not convinced. We'll see. I'll make sure the sound's on. Let's see. Oh, turn sound on. There it is. I had it working all wrong. No wonder it wasn't working. However, we do only need, well, we're still at 143. We were at 125 for a while. That was pretty sweet. But check it out on the World Crypto Network. You can subscribe down below. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to get notifications about every video. We're at 60,861 subscribers, very close to the 61,000 subscriber barrier. We just can't seem to get over that. Yesterday, we had maybe 4 shows. No, we had 3 shows. We had Tuesday morning Bitcoin Talk Show. We had Bitcoin Talk Show live with Rico and Max. Check that one out. I think they had Nico too. Nico, Rico, and Max. And we had the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup, the blockchain sharing economy panel event. Good stuff from San Francisco right here on the World Crypto Network. But now it's time to find out what happened yesterday with everyone's favorite part of the show, yesterday's comments. Yesterday's comments. We got 1,060 views because of 109 likes. Very cool. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a share. That helps spread the word about the show. I'll have to come back for this later. This looks pretty good. I think I was there, though. And let's go down to the comments. Christian Anthony writes, Videodrome, Cronenberg with James Woods and Deborah Harry, freaky. That's one I haven't seen. I haven't seen Videodrome. I always wanted to rent it. I remember the box in the video store, but I never got to it. I got to check that out. It's supposed to be a good Cronenberg film. Also, Scanners. That film where the dude's head blew up. That's a good one. Basically, any film where a head blows up, it's likely Cronenberg. Jose says, "Great show as always, Thomas. I got an addiction, and the only prescription is more WCN cowbell. Love you, brother." So he's referencing the great Saturday Night Live sketch. They almost got me the other day. They made a Funko Pop of Christopher Walken in his more cowbell costume. It's quite something. Oh, it made noise. I heard it. Tallycoin works. Look right here. Tallycoin says that we got a new donation, 0.000718. Thank you so much for your support. I'm going to drink some water and we can look at Tallycoin. Look at that right there. So it works and it makes sound. So we could even put it in the background over here and then it'll make sound on this window and then it'll make sound in the calls and you'll hear it. So yeah, every time you donate to Tallycoin, turn sound on, it'll make a little beep sound. So how about that? So be sure to donate to our Tallycoin fundraiser now. And we were reading yesterday's comments. Matt says, "I'm buying that book right now. Love your show, man." So he's going to go get Andreas Antonopoulos' The Internet of Money. It's a great book. It's nice and short. Bunch of really good Andreas quotes. Definitely one of the places I go to for good quotes to start the show with. Um, Dan Bolster says, "Hey, Tom, love the show. Great views. I'm loving the open mind." That's right, because we can talk about anything on this show. It's cool. And PJ says, "Mad." So, mad Bitcoins. Let's check out what's going on in the chat. They say, "Good morning, Bitcoin. Buenos dias, Bitcoin." And this guy says, "Well," I say, "a place you'll get water from." And he says, "Damn you, Trebek." David wants to know where Blackcoin is trading these days. I say, "Blackcoin to the moon. Always bet on black." And BL Dwyan says, "You want to exchange Litecoin for Bitcoin?" He's having some problems. Well, you can do it at what's it called? Shapeshift. They'll always trade you some Litecoin for Bitcoin or what have you. Uh, David also wants to know, anyone have any Aurora coin? Can you trade your Stellar Lumens for Aurora coin or NXT? There were so many great coins back in the day. They're all still kind of around. A whole bunch more people came in when we went live. And the more likes we get, the more people will join us in the chat. So if you want more friends to hang out with in the chat, share this on Twitter. I remember on Twitter, you could always retweet. A like is good, but a retweet is better. So doing it. Let's see. It took a few seconds to register the ding, but it was fast. The power of Bitcoin. You can hear that right there. It goes right through. And if Bitcoin goes to 1 billion, 0.05 will be enough. There it is. We're saving it. Saving it up. They think 210 Bitcoin. Please, no more Ayn Rand. Okay. We should stay away from Ayn Rand, stay away from the Second Amendment. But Smitty in the chat says, "Did you hear about the programmer Romano and his recent attempt to bring on the Bitcoin bull market? Are we allowed to talk about that kind of thing on YouTube?" I haven't heard about this. I'm not sure what's going on. I heard some kind of story that a guy named Romano went to Las Vegas and that he restarted the alt market. And I don't know, some kind of ritual. I don't know. I'm only guessing here. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But this guy says the 21 Bitcoin club seems far out of reach. You could have gotten it earlier. It would have worked. People say, "What's the address for the Tallycoin fundraisers? Phone won't scan the code." That's a good point. Is it on here? Oh, look, it's on there right there in Tallycoin. You can copy it to the clipboard. You can check it out. It starts with 3G5. Let's see. That's giving me the Tallycoin. Let's see. Copy to clipboard. Oh, I have so many windows open. So let's go to the window that I'm actually in. Show you the thing right there. Copy to clipboard. It says it's been copied and there it is. Bang. So, and oh, look, it blocked me because you are not trusted. Good job. Good job, YouTube. You should block addresses like that. People say, yeah, you could sell your house and you could get 21 Bitcoin. That's a good idea. but it might not be a good idea. It's better to be spread out, to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Charlie also says you could sell your children. That's a good deal. And that the rate is going down. Yes, the price of Bitcoin's always moving. So right now, today, it looks like it might have gone down a little bit. So who knows what it's going to spell out in the chart, what kind of magical numbers the chart will tell us. But not that much happening in chat. You could sell future children. You could also sell blood. But let's get going. Father Mayhem wrote on Twitter yesterday, oh, we got another donation on Tallycoin. That's fun. There you go. You can see right here. Did this one refresh? Yeah, 0.002. Thank you so much for your donation on Tallycoin. And again, having this sound part really makes Tallycoin into a active and live fundraising application. As you can see today, August 29th, we've received 0.002718 donations on Tallycoin. As the donations come in, we can try to get it to go above yesterday's donations of 0.01559563. So it's kind of like a competition we could play. And if we really worked hard, we could try to get it above our all-time #1 Tallycoin donation day, which isn't loading. Let's see. Loads. Not quite right. Okay, so it probably doesn't load because it's in a cloud. This donation address, like this one here, is so powerful that it's blocked by the cloud. Note to the developer. See, I'm just so good at breaking applications. How long was that? And I figured it out too. It's blocked by the cloud. Ha, programmers. But thanks so much for your support on Bitcoin Talk Show. They can't sell it. It's going to be a girl. Oh, bummer. Tough market. Father Mayhem writes, I chuckle when I'm listening to the Bitcoin Talk Show live while doing dishes, and I have to stop, dry off, and run over to the computer to chime in on chat. Proof positive of compelling content, or a disdain for doing dishes. Likely both. Cheers and thanks. Thanks so much, Father Mayhem. Thanks for liking the show, and thanks for checking it out. Ross Olbrecht wrote a pretty sad tweet from prison. These prison tweets are starting to get a little sad. He took some book suggestions a couple of days ago, and now he's kind of reflecting on his life there, and it's starting to get very real, and the realities of this thing are starting to leak out. Ross says, sometimes I reflect on my life before prison, all the little things I used to take for granted and the little problems I used to have. It would take a lot to upset or overwhelm me after all this. If I can make it through this, I feel like I can make it through anything. And strength to Ross Ulbricht. And it also kind of reminds me of The Handmaid's Tale, which I just finished yesterday. Good book, interesting stuff. And she too, like Ross, is trapped in a prison. She's forced to basically be a mating person after this religious group has taken over part of the United States. And I can see why people are comparing it to 1984, and it has a very Orwellian feel to it. You can't trust anyone. You never know if someone's going to rat you out. She thinks that everyone is a spy, and she's totally out of control of her world. She doesn't have a lot of control over anything. Um, Very interesting book, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about it more, but what an interesting chapter at the end where it kind of showed you what would happen after. And it was like a college seminar where they were talking about the book. It was very interesting, like a future college seminar talking about the book. I don't know if you guys have read it. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but it was a very interesting way to end The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know that that's going to happen in the TV version, and I certainly don't think it's a spoiler, but just a fascinating way to end a book. And shout out to Ross. Max went live yesterday with some more Bitcoin talk show. BTC King still seems to have the inside juice on the Bitmain IPO. He says, breaking news from Taiwan. TSMC abandons favorable payment terms to Bitmain. Now it's all prepayment. CFO Laura Ho gives super cautious outlook on working with the company. Number 2, 7 nanometer chip results fall fall far below Gihan's expectations on both power and yield. So bad news seems to just keep coming in for that Bitmain IPO. I still think they'll raise it because there's tons of stupid money out there. But interesting stuff from BTC King. Don't know if that's true. I said on Twitter, I'd finished Handmaid's Tale. It feels like I've been through a lot. And it really does kind of get you into that dark world where people are watching you all the time and you don't have freedom. And this is what it would be like. And I don't think that having a musket is going to save me from that. I think it's a far bigger problem than musket level solutions. Tura Demeester says that it's new chips and it's a new era. The hash rate of Bitcoin jumped to 61.8 exahashes, an increase of 35% in 2 days. I've also heard it went up 50% recently. Basically, that Japanese company we were talking about a couple of days ago, I think it's called eBang, something like that. Samson Mao was tweeting about it. And they released those new miners with the smaller chips, smaller than Bitmain, and really might shake up the mining industry. This is what happened certainly with my home miners. They were pretty cool for a while. Then they made a new chip, and my miners were not cool at all. They were heavy paperweights, and they were terrible. And it happened so fast. You had no idea. You're like, 1 minute you could have sold them on eBay. The next minute, no one will buy them from you on eBay. So it might be happening to Bitmain now, and they have a warehouse full of those things. They have tons of things. So the Opportunity rover, it's not looking good. They had a dust storm on Mars. It may have got too much dust on its solar panels to operate. Wake up, Opportunity. You can do it. You can do it, Opportunity. Meadow had an interesting tweet. He or she writes, I feel like Microsoft and Google have swapped places. Google is now what I imagined Microsoft to be 20 years ago. Big, ugly, full of bro dudes, arrogant, and made to suck the life out of everyone. Microsoft likes operating systems and is pushing innovation and not too creepy. What a time to be alive. And it is quite something. I saw the other day that Microsoft was putting the Bash shell into Windows, like officially. So officially now you could get Bash shell on Windows. So it's Linux and Windows are merging. Microsoft's been very supportive of open source. They did buy GitHub, which I think creeps everyone out, but presumably they've already open sourced great parts of Windows. Maybe there's more to come. Microsoft becoming open source, Google becoming creepy. Who would have guessed? Well, Google with the whole don't be evil thing was a pretty creepy sign for a long time. This guy had a choice. The photojournalist dilemma: save your girlfriend's pasta or get the shot of a lifetime. Is a cat eating pasta. And Adele says she just gave her name in Starbucks as Severus is an illegitimate patriarch. As the Chalcedonian barista repeatedly shouted out my name, the entire cafe screamed, Restore Flavian to the patriarchal see of Antioch. Result, try it. As Roman history, Roman jokes, funny stuff. This is a comparison of Hong Kong's Kowloon Peninsula in 1964 and again in 2016. You can see it looks like an agrarian valley, a couple of buildings, small buildings, and then boom, it looks like they built New York City. Pretty amazing. And this is a single generation. This is a single lifetime. You could be born in 64, go there and see what it was like, and then come back 40 years later and see this. Amazing. 50 years later. We've got new features in Mistos. Check that out at mistos.io, where you can use a multi-signature wallet that's easy to configure and doesn't store any of your user data. Very cool stuff. Christopher Franco is willing to bet that your favorite crypto Twitter personality has a lot less money than you think they do. Even him. He says he lost his keys in a boating accident. Tragic, really. I don't even like water or being outside. So I don't know what he's talking about there. Maybe we should have him tell the story of his boating accident on the show. Was it a big boat? Was it a yacht? Did you crash into Fluffy Pony's yacht and break his Lambo watch? These Bitcoin stories are getting a bit out of hand, I think. But just a reminder to give us a thumbs up and a share so that more people will find the show. We've got 81 live viewers. That's pretty good, but I think we could get to 100. Our Tallycoin fundraiser has been going up ever since I told you that it makes a beeping sound when it goes off so that it throws me off my game. And now I've got it on the other computer, so it'll keep making a beeping sound there too. So we are monitoring this. We're very close to $500 on Tallycoin. So if you have some Bitcoin, maybe, let's see, 18, something like $6.18. And if you're willing to pay the fee, it's probably going to be like a quarter or maybe less to send us some Bitcoin right now. If you send us $6.18, we'll go over $500, which would be a big deal here on our Tallycoin fundraiser. We're trying to raise all the way up to $1 million so that we can spread the word about Bitcoin. We are 0.05% of the way there. We might have to, maybe Tallycoin could have a real small fundraiser to show you like how close you are to the next percent. Like it could put a little circle in, like you are this much close to 25% of your goal, because like the goal is too big. But we do need your donations to reach the goal. Checking out the price of Bitcoin, it's around $7,030. Just got another donation almost while I was on the screen. Thanks so much to donor 0.00186,286. One of those is a computer. And as soon as it confirms or something, Tallycoin will update the number up here. And I think we will go above $500, reaching our goal for the day. We've had 18 donations so far. Pretty cool. A lot of different people have helped us out here on Tallycoin. And remember, you can create your own Tallycoin fundraiser at tallyco.in. All you need to do is bring a Bitcoin address and how much your goal is. We set this goal way too high, but if you set a reasonable goal, I'm sure you can hit it if you tell enough people about it. People can donate Bitcoin to you. Let's check out our top stories in the mainstream media. Is Bitcoin a scam? No. Summary: the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, known scammer, went to prison for scamming, has called Bitcoin a scam. Okay. If you believe in that, you can believe in that. Bitcoin accepted everywhere. Square wins patent for cryptocurrency payment network. Okay. Couldn't we just use Bitcoin? Square would not be the first payment processor to allow merchants to accept payments in cryptocurrency that are automatically converted into local currency. BitPay has been doing this since 2011, and you can already do this with the open source BTC Pay, which is an alternative to BitPay. So Square is doing the same thing. Still, it's cool. It's on its way. They're saying Square is working on rolling out Bitcoin payments. Generally good. Generally good. Bitcoin consolidates above $7,000 as bulls eye a line in the sand, such as across this line, you do not. You do not. So there it is. And after a dreadful August, they say Ether looks to regain $300. So it's all coming back up. It's starting to look pretty good. That's, of course, when it's going to dip hard or go back down, but who knows? Mainstream media, all excited by the Wolf of Wall Street. It's almost as if this movie gave this scammer more power. It's very strange. Remember the great part of the story? His roommate in prison was Chong. His roommate was Chong, and Chong suggested he write his story. He wrote a book, then it became the Scorsese movie. Bitcoin survey suggests a bright future for cryptocurrency. Of course it does. I think this is the one where 18% of US students own Bitcoin. Very cool. 18% of US students own or have owned Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency. They also said that 42% of the world's best universities, I don't know how they judge best, offer crypto courses. Very cool. So once again, Bitcoin is such a big deal, blockchain, etc., that they're teaching it in school. So 5 years ago, when we were the only people talking about this, and we were making YouTube videos and talking to other members of the Bitcoin community who were all super excited, and all the libertarians and all the cypherpunks and all the people who told you Bitcoin was a big deal. Bitcoin is a big deal, and we're just getting started. The blockchain revolution beyond Bitcoin, impossible to read font. How the world is experimenting with the blockchain. Ugh. Distributed ledger technology, DLT. That sounds like a sandwich. I'd like to DLT me a sandwich. Once again, all about the blockchain. The key part about the blockchain is that it allows several parties that don't necessarily trust each other to share a common database that is cryptographically secure. This means that complex processes like contract negotiations could be made cheaper, faster, and simpler. Well, what's interesting is I agree with their second example. It is good for contract negotiations because it's provable. But this first part, several parties that don't necessarily trust each other. So this is good for the corporate world. And again, it doesn't verify the accuracy of the data. If you're reporting diamonds into the blockchain and you say they're clean and they're dirty, it's always going to record that they're clean. The blockchain is not a truth machine. The problem is people keep describing it as a truth machine. It just keeps it accurate. And again, it can be edited if it's mined internally. The whole point is, like it says here, several parties that don't trust each other. The miners mine it, the people that run nodes have nodes. All of these different things form the ecosystem of Bitcoin. And these new blockchains, where it's entirely internally mined and entirely internally noded, and so on and so forth, don't have the same features. So we're in a bizarro world. We're in a bizarro period where what seems on the outside as a switch to database technology. People have been putting off switching to databases for a long time, and they decided, well, let's switch to blockchain database and get a lot more money for our project. And then maybe later we could just build a database. I don't understand. It keeps going on. Bitcoin tops $7,000, climbs as much as 6% on Tuesday. That's a good Tuesday. Morgan Creek rolls out cryptocurrency fund as Bitcoin hovers around 7,000. That's amazing. Something that's dead can hover. I thought Bitcoin was dead and tulips and a Ponzi scheme. What happened to all that? Apparently, Grayscale earlier this year rolled out the digital large cap fund, also aimed at institutional investors. So even without an ETF, big money is finding its way into Bitcoin. And you can't read whatever this article was. Good job, guys. The anatomy of anonymity, how Dandelion could make Bitcoin more private. Sounds good. Remember the roadmap for Bitcoin is scaling, then privacy. So I think scaling is looking pretty good. So privacy is coming up next. Entering the conversation is Dandelion, which would effectively neutralize the peer-to-peer analysis that plays a significant role in compromising user identity. Nice, nice. So when you send a transaction, it's broadcasted to multiple nodes included in a block. It's diffusion. Begins at a source node. Let's see. Dandelion presented at the Building on Bitcoin conference in Lisbon, Portugal. The source node's IP address can be difficult to be discerned because diffusion is susceptible to detection. When collaborating spy nodes receive a transaction, they can engage in peer-to-peer network analysis to retrace its steps through the network. Basically, by observing the timing of each broadcast and examining the structure of relays, spies can trace with a high probability that isn't necessarily foolproof a transaction back to its source node. From here, the spy has high odds of gleaning the IP address of the transaction sender. So Dandelion would abstract the transaction relaying process to make it more complicated for adversaries to trace transactions. This, in essence, would make it nearly impossible to follow the breadcrumb trail that broadcast timings and relay structures lead back to the source node. Very cool. Sounds great. So it sends a transaction on a random path through a variable number of nodes before the transaction is diffused. Nice. The random pathway is known as the stem phase of the protocol, and the other transactions, the diffusion process, is known as the fluff phase. Very great. Good job from Dandelion. Really like it. We need to get this added to Bitcoin soon. Excellent article from Bitcoin Magazine. Check it out about Dandelion. No. Bitcoin price analysis. Is this yet another suckers rally? Ooh, I don't know. Let's see what they say. 4-hour chart. Looking ahead. Bearing a drop below the ascending trend line at 8,664, Bitcoin could extend the top of the trend line at 7,350 over the short term. A sharper pullback to 6,875 would not be surprising, and bulls are likely to buy the dip in anticipation of a quick bounce back above 7,000. There is resistance at 7,128, 165, 490. In the event of a reversal, Bitcoin will find support at 6,877, 6,711, and 6,566. Bitcoin has spent the day bouncing off softer supports at 7,000, 7,030, and 7,050. Interesting stuff from Bitcoinist.com. As always, if you'd like to support the show, you can subscribe to patreon.com/madbitcoins, where 78 patrons are donating $480 a month to support the show. Or over at patreon.com/WCN, where 32 patrons are donating $239 a month to keep us on the air. We've also got the donation codes, including crazy altcoins. You can support the World Crypto Network. And just today, we got our Tallycoin campaign to work. Tallycoin now has 0.0727 Bitcoin towards our goal of $1 million. That's $507.46, breaking over the $500 barrier. We're having such a hard time getting through that one. But this is Bitcoin Talk Show, and we'd like to take your calls. So go ahead and give us a call now at 518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Checking out what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Oh, they want to talk different things they can sell to get more Bitcoin. People think they're getting a good price for your Uncle Sam shitcoins today. Pump that chart to the moon. Charlie says girls are rare in China. You might get a better deal over there. Dun dun dun. Free Ross. What about Cody Wilson? Dan says in the chat that Cody Wilson risks following in Ross's footsteps. And I definitely think that's a possibility. The most recent news seems to be that the judge said you're not allowed to sell the plans for the weapons, and the Defense Distributed Company is selling the plans for the weapons. So it seems pretty much on its face that he's going to go to jail. I'm not sure why he's doing that. They've put out some kind of a statement. They believe it's a technicality that they weren't allowed to post the plans publicly on the internet, but they were allowed to sell the plans, some kind of thing like that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I think it's very possible that Cody Wilson ends up sharing the cell next to Ross Ulbricht, and maybe they could be buddies like the Odd Couple. And one of them is neat and the other one's dirty, and they argue with each other, so on and so forth. I think Ross could be the Jack Lemmon character. He'd be the thin one, and Cody Wilson would be the heavyweight Oscar character, the Walter Matthau. I think it'd be really good. And I'm tying this into Neil Simon, who wrote The Odd Couple, passed away recently. If you haven't seen the movie The Odd Couple, check it out. A classic with Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon. Really good stuff. Yeah, Cody's lawyered up. I still don't think it was a good idea to put out the plans when they told you not to. Seems like that's yeah, it's not going to work out well. People say, who has muskets? but it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. Blockstack is coming. That's right. You can store your data somewhere that you want to store it with Blockstack. It's very cool. And one of the ideas I've been promoting is we need kind of a Blockstack version of Tallycoin. We need to upgrade it to Blockstack or some other system where you could host your own data. But even then, they could just hack the Tallycoin servers. I don't know. There's a lot of man in the middle potential hacks when you start doing Bitcoin money and fundraising and so on and so forth. Um, at least he didn't lose his boat in a keying accident. Blah, blah, blah. People say, what's up with this cruise that's going on? I don't know. I think people want to go on a cruise for free and it's a floating conference. I don't know. I mean, they do them in other industries. It seems kind of ridiculous, but I guess people are into it. You want to hang out with these people and rub elbows. Uh, the only thing I can say about all the Bitcoin conferences recently is they all seem very, very expensive. I don't know what you guys expect to get out of them for. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, it's me, Charlie Lee. I'm calling from San Francisco. How's
Hey,
it going,
Charlie.
Thomas?
It's going good, man. What's on your mind today about
I'm
Bitcoin?
just kidding. Actually, it's not Charlie Lee. I'm just kidding. It's Crip Loco again.
Oh,
I just
oh,
was
yeah.
listening to your what you were saying about Cody Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a lot of really strong feelings about it because I just watched two videos yesterday, or I watched two specific pieces of content. One was audio and one was video. The video was Tone Vay's video regarding the legal implications of Cody Wilson's situation, which is definitely people that are interested in Bitcoin for real should definitely check that out, because what was coming out in the debate or in the discussion was that there are a lot of parallels between the fight that Cody Wilson is doing right now with regarding freedom of speech. Forget about the Second Amendment, just the freedom of speech side of it, that code is speech. And Bitcoin, it's very easy to jump from this idea that if Bitcoin is seen as this, tool for drug dealers and, and if the story is created that just like with the 3D printed gun, I mean, all of these shootings that are happening, they're happening because these kids have easy access to guns. And especially if you look at the South area of the United States, I mean, you could just go to anywhere and buy a gun almost. I mean, guns are very readily available. But anyway, what I'm saying is that I'm trying to think of the word, but there's a narrative that is being created about this 3D printed gun. When I talk with people on the street, and they say that they're starting to hear about it now because all of these shootings, and the shootings are being associated with a 3D printed gun, even though it's never actually been used for any of those things. Cody Wilson is just saying, look, I'm just posting this code of these files. That's all I'm doing. And if anybody wants to, if you wanted to post a file that showed how to make moonshine, and somebody made moonshine and then got in a car accident and killed somebody, it's not the fault of the person that posted the file. But what seems to be the narrative is that he should be somehow or another taken down because of that. Now,
let's be clear. He has been posting these files over and over again, right? He is kind of on a quest or a crusade for whatever reason. Other people want to, bring this to that. He wants to bring 3D printed guns to the world. He's decided this is his thing. Now, I agree with all of the inevitability arguments. I think it is inevitable. People are going to 3D print guns. If you were a person that needed a gun and you had a 3D printer, I think you could figure it out. I think that it's not like building a rocket ship or building a nuclear weapon, both of which people also figured out. Normal people, you need advanced equipment, things like that. You need less advanced equipment to make a 3D printed gun. But why is Cody Wilson on such a quest to get us the 3D printed gun? Let's imagine a world, like you say, where I can buy these plans for $10 and I can print up a gun at home. Why is the world a better place? What has he improved with his quest?
Well, I've listened a little bit to some of the debates that have happened, and I think people try to go down the road of the American history, and I think that that's probably a bad argument, just because, or a bad discourse, because the truth is that what it really boils down to is we're looking at the trifecta. We're looking at the dark net with Ross Ulbricht. We're looking at Bitcoin with Satoshi, who is smart enough to get out of the way. But the thing is that it still has to unfold. Human beings still have to be part of the repo. There still has to be binaries that are posted on websites that people can trust and download and run their full nodes and all that stuff. So there's still people involved in that can be co-opted, that can be, things can happen to those people too. And we already saw what happened with Ross Ulbricht. And then we have Cody Wilson. It's kind of a trifecta, because what we're looking at is the freedom of information. And I think that what I've seen in Cody Wilson's demeanor is sort of like a irreverent fight to just make the point that people have actually been making guns making their own guns for a long time. I mean, anybody can make a gun. I don't know that, just like anybody can run a full node, and anybody can go download Tor and get on the dark web and start buying assassination, contracts. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's just that Cody Wilson is the only one that's actually on the forefront of fighting this fight. Now, I'm not saying that like I said, with the moonshine example, I'm not saying that I mean, if he posts the logic of how to do these things, anybody can do it, but it's very involved. It's very involved. It would take a lot.
And I think that's where this argument gets down to is, okay, let's say I make an exploit for a system. I can break into Windows. I can make Windows crash if I send data to a certain port, right? That's bad. But if I then make a tool that allows you to do that easily, and it has graphics and it's animated and it's really easy, now 1,000 script kiddies can go out there not even knowing what the exploit is, not even knowing about the port or anything like that, and they can just push the button on the script kiddie machine. I don't think we've really made the world that much better. I'm not arguing that it's not impossible to take an exploit and make it into like a little click button machine with an installer and everything. But I don't see it as that revolutionary or that good for the world. I agree with what people are saying, where they're trying to loop in this idea that if they outlaw the code for the guns, that they're going to outlaw the code for the Bitcoin. And I don't think that we should be contributing to their plan to link the Bitcoin code in with that. I see them as totally different things. And I also don't know that we necessarily want to be on the same side as this Cody Wilson. I don't know what the deal is, but it seems right now that he's in clear violation of the judge's order not to sell 3D printed guns. And it's one thing to be on the run if he was in, Buenos Aires and people didn't know where Cody Wilson was and he had all these different servers all over the world. Even Kim.com, at least he's in New Zealand or Australia or whatever. But he's in the US, he has a legal team, and he's now in violation of the order. So I don't think that we want to be on the same team as him in Bitcoin for anything. I know he's asking for Bitcoin donations and so on and so forth, and that's great, but it seems like he's going to be right there next to Ross. He's going to be in the cell next to him. This tweeting thing, he's got to get someone to tweet for him like Ross. That's the kind of thing that I think he should be setting up right now.
Well, I think I totally agree with that. I think that it is dangerous for us to associate ourselves with those two other. We've been associating ourselves with the Free Ross campaign for a long time, because in his case, he's already in jail or prison. So it's like, it's easier to for him to be a martyr.
Well, and Ross brought a violence-free drug market, which you can actually say does have some benefits. And using drugs is much more on a wavery line. It's kind of in the middle. Whereas it just using guns, well, you can hunt, so you can kill animals, you can kill targets, and you can kill people. So it has a lot less use.
Yeah, I mean, I think with I don't know how much experience you have with the dark web, but I mean, I'm sure you do have experience with it, but it's not just drugs that you can buy on Silk Road. You could buy guns, you could buy fake passports, you could buy all kinds of illegal stuff. So, and you still can. So it's like he started a wave of like the Pirate Bay, and maybe BitTorrent is in there too. Maybe BitTorrent is maybe it's the 4-point system where it's all four working together. But the thing is I just want to reference again that video that I saw yesterday of Tone Vays interviewing this. It was a legal review, and the conclusion was that Tone was really pushing hard like this be cash, be trash like agenda, and it was like Cody was like, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I don't care. I didn't come here to, follow the rules. And what's funny is in the same day, I listened to the most recent Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast, which I would recommend everybody listens to, especially if you're really serious about Bitcoin, because Andreas breaks it down about how the ETF is a retarded idea. It's going to screw up Bitcoin. It's going to make the price manipulated. All these old fogies are going to come in and think that Bitcoin is a stock, and then we're just going to have to sit back and wait for people to actually care about Bitcoin, which nobody does. Which brings me to my Nietzschean idea. So that Nietzsche had this idea that's really interesting. I guess you could summarize it by saying, the higher man in the herd. We can't train the herd. I mean, I didn't come. That's exactly what Andreas said. Was I didn't come here to co-opt with the people that Bitcoin, the Genesis block, was specifically talking about. He's specifically talking about how Wall Street just destroys economies. And the minute that Wall Street starts getting involved and they're starting to manipulate the price, and we're telling, on the other end, on the back end, we're telling people buy Bitcoin, use Bitcoin, and whatever. And then like somebody puts in $5 and they get $3 back. People are going to be upset. And I think another one of Nietzsche's quotes that I think is kind of interesting is he says, I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that from now on I can't believe you, and it's something to think about, because if we start telling people, like if we don't get our act together and say like, okay, look, Bitcoin was not created to be a financial play toy of Wall Street. That was not the point, and nobody came here for that anyway. Then, so if we start to make it about the price, then and that's exactly, like I said, I would definitely recommend that anybody listening to this right now both watches the law review video and listens to that podcast, because they talk all about the ETF, and there's a lawyer on there, and Andreas, just like I said, he just breaks it down, and he's up against a lot of adversity because everybody wants the price to go up, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants the price to go up, but he's trying to say that is not what, if we're really honest with ourselves, that is not what we're here for. And I think that's what Cody Wilson's saying, that's what we're saying, that's what Ross is saying, and that's what every single person that's downloading a torrent right now is also saying. They did not come here to care about what, and unfortunately there's a conflict of interest there, and we're going to have to see how that plays out. I don't know. I'm not saying.
But if we want to go mainstream, we're going to need more investors. And if we're going to get in more investors, the ETF is bringing us more investors. I see it more as the same old thing where Bitcoin is strong enough to get through this. And that all of these Bitcoin people and all of these people thinking that Bitcoin's a stock, that's fine, because that's their first exposure to Bitcoin. And maybe their second exposure to Bitcoin is actual Bitcoin. And maybe they learn that down the way. I think Andreas is being way too close-minded on this. I think we need all the press that we can get, and that the ETFs would have to spend a whole bunch of money advertising in a whole bunch of places we can't reach, and that we would bring all those people in, and that there's not going to be a worldwide fascination with Bitcoin if we don't let the world get fascinated with it. So I don't think I just think this community is not going to stay small. I wish it would stay small. I wish we could trust everyone in Bitcoin and all be friends and all that. But I think it's going to get bigger and bigger, and that Wall Street's going to come in, and we're just going to have to survive it. I don't think this attitude that they're going to change us. I think we're going to change them. So
I think that's true. I think I agree with that to a point, but I think he brings up a really good example where he says, like, it's like in some countries, all they have is access to Facebook. And did that really change the internet? Did that really open up the internet? Not really. I mean, because Facebook is a closed garden system. And if you have an ETF where you have millions of dollars invested in Bitcoin that somebody has to be the custodian of, because the holders, it's like a Coinbase on steroids, because nobody, that guy that lost the $25 million or whatever, and he's trying to blame AT&T. I mean, that these are stories that are already happening. It's not like a hypothetical. It's like, this is actually happening. So to get back to my original thing, like I said, I'm not like, if people are looking at us as Bitcoiners and saying, I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that from now on, I can't believe you. And they're looking at us as and that's why it's like I get back to that the herd idea, like most people are in the herd. I mean, they don't even want to know.
What's the alternative plan? How are we going to get 1 million new investors without the ETF? Did Andreas have any kind of direction that he wants us to go, or is it just negative reaction to something that's going to happen with or without us anyway?
Well, I think it's worth listening to it. No, his summary was he knows it's going to happen, but there's also going to be an Ethereum ETF and all these other things, and it's just going to be But the more important thing is that he said it's not. I mean, and I agree. I agree with everybody. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with Tone. I agree with Cody. I agree with Andres. And I even, and I guess if Ross had a say in it, he probably would do the same thing. It's going to do nothing to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just going to keep going. But the Cody Wilson thing is important because there are actual name people that are working on Bitcoin Core right now. And if Bitcoin Core, and that was one actual silver lining that he brought up, was like, if Bitcoin Core is seen as the thing that like investors now, big Wall Street investors are invested in, that there's not going to be an easy way for them to take down Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is already going to be woven into the fabric of these people that have a lot of money. But in terms of mainstream, he really kind of breaks it down. And I really emphasize just, if you have time to listen to the podcast, because he really breaks it down about how, being an early adopter versus being someone, once it gets mainstream, it's like, again, it's like Facebook. It's like, just because it's mainstream doesn't mean that it hits all the original points that was the whole point of it. I mean, Facebook can create a crypto tomorrow and that could go mainstream. That doesn't mean that it has any of the core values of the original Bitcoin that we all got into it for, of destroying Wall Street and having censorship resistance. And the rest of the world is not in the same situation that we're in. So we might end up just, sort of alienating ourselves from the real core principles of Bitcoin. And I get it. Like, like I said.
Well, and I think we have to have faith in the 21 million Bitcoin unit in limit, and we have to have faith in the halvening system, and we have to have faith in the programmers not to change those things. And if we keep that, I think we'll be fine. I think this is far too much fear. People are imagining a system where because there is a Bitcoin ETF, everyone stops holding their private keys. I know that I'm certainly going to get rid of my Trezor just the first minute they open that Bitcoin ETF. That's absurd, right? But that seems to be what he's saying. And again, yes, it's fine if 1% of people are actually using Bitcoin or 2%. If we're going to establish a store of value for the entire planet, we're going to have to take in all of the planet's value. So this is just another step on the stones. I don't see this as a concern. I mean, I think the futures markets were just as big a concern if you're worried about manipulation. Yes, the futures markets have helped them manipulate Bitcoin. The ETF is going to help them manipulate Bitcoin. We knew they were going to do this all along, so on and so forth. But we didn't think it was going to be easy. Also, I don't think we're going to get there if they ignored us. If they were ignoring Bitcoin, I would be a lot more concerned. If they were saying, yeah, we could do an ETF, but we're not going to, or if they are still planning it, or if they're still going slow. These companies have put time and money into this proposal to make a Bitcoin ETF because they think they're going to make a lot of money. And if they're going to make a lot of money, they're going to bring a lot of new customers to Bitcoin. They're going to bring a lot of more legitimacy to Bitcoin. And maybe instead of when you say Bitcoin and people say Silk Road, they'll say Bitcoin and they'll say, oh, yeah, you know, the ETF. I talked to my broker about that last week. I have some of that. And again, like if we're going to take in all of the world's wealth, we need on ramps. This just seems like an on ramp to me. I don't see the reason to be afraid. So.
Oh no, I'm not afraid, and I think you're absolutely right about the point of it making it more legitimate. And all I'm saying is and I'll wrap it up here because I know I'm taking too much time, but all I'm saying is that if for Bitcoin to become mainstream would be antithetical to the whole point of like what I was saying about how the whole thing about Bitcoin is the same thing about voting or politics. I mean, how many people know all of the branches of our government? You know, a lot of people do, but not everybody. And a lot of people just don't care. A lot of people just want to plug the thing in. And what I advocate these days is rather than sending someone Bitcoin to introduce them to Bitcoin, I send them a YouTube video and have them watch it and see if they're even interested in that. If they're not interested in that, then it's like, all I'm doing is throwing money away because they're not really invested in the ideas of Bitcoin. And I think we're moving into a period where there's going to be a lot of really, I know people joke about the dumb money thing, but it's a real problem because if there's a bunch of dumb money invested in it, like you said, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So if a bunch of Bitcoin is locked up by people that don't even care about Bitcoin or don't care about the principles, the philosophical principles of Bitcoin, and all they care about is the price going to the moon, which if you really peel back 90% of what people talk about when they talk about ICOs or the ETF or, you know, Coinbase accepting a new crypto, it's always all about the price, for real. Like that's what it really is about. They want the price to go up. And if the price isn't going up and the price is going down, then that's the first indicator. So that's why, I mean, I program in Bitcoin. I'm interested in Bitcoin as a software instrument. I think that not very many people care about it that way. Everybody's lined up in droves. I mean, Tom is making tons of money selling seminars about how to predict the price of Bitcoin. He's not talking about how to like write a script or, compile your own version of Bitcoin D. He's not talking about any of that. He's talking about how to predict the price to make money off of Bitcoin. And it's a shame. It makes me sad inside is all I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying, like, I watched these two videos and I saw two people I really respect. On one hand, Cody Wilson, and on the other hand, Andreas, both talking about how Bitcoin just doesn't care. And I know that's like a stupid thing to say because we say it all the time in different contexts, but it's not really Bitcoin that doesn't care. It's the real users of Bitcoin that don't care because Bitcoin isn't anything. It's just UTXOs. So, you know, it's a network. So it's a network of people that are actually doing something with the network that are going to really be the ones to keep it up. And so we need to create a real solid base of users. I mean, and just like anybody can have a kid, right? Anybody can have a kid, but that doesn't mean that they're going to take care of it. You know, maybe they have no interest in it. It was just an accident. You know, they just came upon it or whatever. And some people rise to the occasion, some people don't. And so that's why I think it's a good thing to spread the advocacy of Bitcoin as but I feel like it's getting to a point where nobody's going to really need to spread the advocacy of Bitcoin. People are going to start to get it. There's going to be reasons why they need it, just like there's reasons why people need the dark web, just like there's reasons why people need BitTorrent, just like there's reasons that maybe in some situations, eventually, someone might need that 3D printed gun. But all of those things are very complicated. And most people are not equipped to do the things that they need to do to get involved in those things. But I'll leave you on this thought, though, just to lighten it up a little bit.
All right.
Satoshi, boxers or briefs?
Briefs, right? He doesn't care. He's bald. He shaves his head. He's Mr. Efficiency, right? It's a not caring thing.
But I don't, wait, no, briefs are not. I don't know if briefs are necessarily more efficient. It just
I think they're cheaper. I think they're more cost efficient.
That's a hard one. It's a little bit more.
Going back and forth. Uh-oh. Is he going to go boxer briefs? Is he going to combine them? Is he going to go bikini briefs?
Too.
You have to imagine, is Satoshi sexy? We have to decide.
And he's going to buy them at Nordstrom Rack. I already know that. But anyway, good talking with you, Thomas, as always.
They say in the chat he's going to go commando.
He's gonna go. Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Satoshi has no underwear.
That's it. He's got the bald head going commando. Hopefully, he's got the pants on at least.
Yeah, we'll see. Mankini.
Anyway, man. Like I said, good talking with you as always. Love the conversation and keep up the good work.
All right. Well, give us a call anytime. Thanks so much, Crypt Loco, for hanging out on the show. A lot of good ideas there, a lot of interesting stuff. I do think, though, Bitcoin's going to be fine. I've looked at all the old revolutions, and I agree that Andreas and Cody are right to be worried and concerned. If you look at like the French Revolution, they had all these great ideas and they were ready to go. And as it turned out, they cut off a lot of people's heads, and then Napoleon just took over. And it was more of Napoleon's revolution by the end of it. And I just don't think that's going to happen with Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin's going to be fine. All these Wall Street people are going to get into it. The price is going to go crazy. All these people are going to invest. All kinds of people are going to make money. Some people won't. Other people will. All that's going to happen. And at the end of the day, Bitcoin's going to be there completely unchanged. All of these projects are going to go up. They're going to make all these blockchains. Then they're not going to use them. All these altcoins are going to go up. All these Amazon coins. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? I've shocked them into silence. Oh, it looks disconnected. Have we lost the server? Let's see. So while I try to reconnect to that, other things he was talking about, I think that this revolution is going to change and that things are happening where, yes, the new people aren't going to be libertarian and the new people aren't going to be cypherpunk and they're not going to be interested in your old ideas and these kind of things. They do just want to get rich quick, but they also want to use Bitcoin, right? They also have an interest in this thing. Wow, the whole server. Oh, it looks like Google Chrome has crashed. Let's see. They're going to be different. They're going to be only interested in the price, and we're not going to change them. All of these things seems like standing against the ocean and saying, stop, ocean. And it's not going to happen. This is the new phase of Bitcoin, and we're not going to get it by wishing for the old phase. It's just not going to come back. So yes, it is going to be painful. Yes, you're going to talk to people at the thing and you're going to say, oh, well, do you know what negative rights are? And they're going to say, I have no idea what that is. And they're going to say, well, what about volunteerism or agorism or, civil rights or the Fifth Amendment or Second Amendment or any of your favorite ideas? They're not going to be into them, right? This is a new group of Bitcoiners. They're not going to behave like the old groups of Bitcoiners. So let's try. Oh, it went up and it went down. Oh, one more time. The caller hung up that time. But you can give us a call right now at Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word, or at 518-600-1949. Got to try to get that back up on the screen. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, there it is. And we don't have the Skype open yet. So give us a phone call now. I don't know if this thing could handle running Skype at the same time. It's a lot of pressure on this old machine. Let's see. There we go. It's loading Skype. It thinks it's going to handle it. But another thing the caller was talking about, we were talking about 3D printed weapons and why it's such a big deal. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is B.L. Doyen, and I'm coming from London.
Oh, fantastic. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks again for your great comment yesterday. You said a lot of nice stuff about what we do here at the show, and thanks so much for your support. What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, just I've been listening to all these people, Andreas, and is it called Caitlin Long, this lady from Wall Street? She worked there for 20 something years. Trace Mayer, and all these people, I don't know, there are different ideas, they have different knowledge of the whole protocol and the blockchain and Bitcoin, how it works. And it's got, I don't know, I agree with you. I think that nothing is going to really, I mean, there will be ups and downs. However, Bitcoin will just stay, continue going.
Exactly. I'm not worried about this thing, and I'm surprised that they are. I mean, even the whole Cody Wilson thing, trying to tie us in with the 3D printed gun. I'm a little concerned by the possibilities of Augur and an assassination market, things like that. That seems like a new nasty brush to paint Bitcoin with. I don't necessarily know that we want to be in the same group as this 3D printed gun. And as of right now, anyway, no one seems to be going after the Bitcoin software. They haven't realized yet how incredibly powerful it actually is. And they're still letting it just sneak around the system and grow and grow and grow. So as long as they're willing to let Bitcoin do that, I'm willing to wait,
They are
right?
not programmers.
Yeah.
They are financiers and lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
So they see dollars. They see dollars. They have dollar signs in their eyes. However, there is a lot to learn. I mean, how long did it take you to learn? And have you learned it? I haven't.
Mm-hmm. To learn what? Bitcoin?
I've been 3 years using Bitcoin, mainly hodling. However, I do not understand everything yet.
Sure, and I don't think it's necessary for everyone to understand everything.
People are going to have to, they have a hell of a lot of catch up to do. And I think that more than one is going to lose money. It's like playing the piano and the lead is going to come on their fingers. They're going to get their fingers burned, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
and just because someone buys part of a Bitcoin ETF doesn't mean that they're not going to buy.
Keeping the money. Huh?
Yeah.
The keys.
Mm-hmm.
So all that is going to be it's going to be interesting to see. And we're going to laugh a bit, I think, because people are going to have like certificates, which are a piece of paper. And you have to have the keys.
Well, and let's remember, maybe they hear about Bitcoin from the ETF and they go out and buy some for themselves, or they have their agent go out and buy some for themselves, or somebody's broker now needs to buy Bitcoin because he's heard about the ETF. I think there's a lot of positive crossover here that maybe they're not seeing. And I think there's also it feels like we're having an old-fashioned conservative liberal argument, where they're saying, oh, the past was better, and it was better when Bitcoin was a smaller community and people actually cared about it. And I'm afraid of the future where Bitcoin is going to be big and out of control. And I think we're going there anyway. We can't complain. We just got to get ready and adapt. It's not going to be like the past.
And the other thing is that the present system is based on debt. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is based in equity, which is the energy that keeps the network running. And they are opposite. One of them is exponential, which is all this paper money, this fiat money system, whereas Bitcoin is logarithmic, which are just opposites. So they are going to have to find a balance among both systems, because they just, how many dollars are there? How many pounds are there? They've been printing them for centuries, the actual pounds.
And even with stocks, they have a stock split, and they'll print more of the stock, so they keep that at a smaller number. Yeah.
Paper is cheap. Paper is cheap. And then people, oh, yes, I give you money. I mean, which is basically effort. You have put your time in this world to produce the money, and you give it to them, and they give you a piece of paper. I mean, are we mad?
It's not a good deal. It's better to get something of value.
Yeah, that's right. So they are going to have to, people are going to have to learn quite a bit. It's going to be tougher than learning how email works. They're going to have to learn. Even, I was looking at some people. Well, it was Andreas Antonopoulos, and I couldn't follow him. It was like if Alice and Bob, one could have like the idea of the Lightning Network channel close before the other, and one had a preference over the other. However, in the other transaction, the second one had the preference. It is like really messy to understand all this, and people are not going to understand. So they are going to pass on all to an agent. Oh, get me this, and they will learn to use like the basics, and that will be about it. And any big mistake is going to cost a lot of money. I mean,
well, exactly. And you don't have to know how Bitcoin works to use a Bitcoin wallet. You can just send it around. And someone earlier was saying they would make their friends watch a YouTube video before they'd give them any Bitcoin. And I kind of say the opposite. Just give them $1. Like, get them one of these wallets where you don't think they'll lose it. Something like Coinbase that has an email and a password. This is their first wallet. It's like a Fisher Price wallet. It's not the last wallet they're going to get. But if you just want to get them started, get them in there, get them $1, and then explain to them just the basics that you can't get that dollar back. Call it magic if you have to, but it is like magic.
Yeah, but I mean, I know one example. I mean, there are many examples, but I know an example of a guy who is in a tobacconist shop. He sells cigarettes and also these coupons, which you can buy 50 euros, 100 euros, and I think his maximum is like 200 euros of Bitcoin. And he was like buying himself some, and then he formatted his telephone. He had this iPhone, and he lost a lot of it. So there will be lots of lost coins. So it's not 21 million. It's going to be more like 15. You know what I mean? So they are going to go sooner or later to the moon. Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. Definitely. Thanks so much for your call. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you are breaking up. So thank you for taking my call, and I continue listening to all those things you have to tell us. Okay?
All right. Thanks so much for your support, and give us a call anytime.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And you can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network or at 518-600-1949. And Charlie in the chat says that I'm the one afraid of the future and that 3D printed guns and assassination markets are the future and they're a godsend. And the only thing I worry about Charlie's future is how many bodies there's going to be. It seems like Westworld. Like you have to step over bodies on your way to breakfast. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Pete, and I'm calling from Hidden Hills of New Mexico.
All right, Pete. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Well, the question that I have is if we know what they're teaching these young adults at the universities when it comes to Bitcoin and economics.
Well, I think at its core, any kind of exposure is good exposure. So even if they're just mentioning it in a history class that it exists or talking about it in their finance class, I think it's a good start. Are you concerned they're going to teach them like the wrong thing about Bitcoin or something?
Well, you always have your professors, your economics professors that believe in the dollar and the dollar is everything and the Wall Street is everything. And then you do have your economics and history professors that believe in the Boston Tea Party and freedom of pretty much all of our amendments and our Constitution and the right to better our economy. And if there's something out there better, so I think that there's a fight going on in the universities right now about what Bitcoin really is, what it can do, what are the core values of it, what it can become. Okay. So, and if anything, it comes down to the education. It comes down to these next up and comers that are going to be working in the financial system on what they're going to believe based on what their professors have been kind of pounding in their minds.
Well, I definitely thought that originally, but now that we've had kind of some success with Bitcoin and it's been spread out into the world, and the finance markets are taking it, and all these people are building exchanges for Bitcoin and all the crazy altcoins and all this kind of thing, don't you think that we're already kind of over that? And that I'm not sure that the universities could affect Bitcoin. I don't think that the financial markets can affect Bitcoin. I think that all of it's just going to go up and up, and that we're in the beginning of a long fad. So
No, I completely agree that we're in the beginning of a, how should I say this, a technological evolution of the next step. And what, because for the past, I would say 5 to 6 years, technology has been stagnant. It's not, technologies haven't been released. What has been created, whatever new technologies have been created that are not decentralized, have been shelved by big companies. Just like, if somebody doesn't want to be put out of business by a new technology, they buy that technology, they shelve it, and it's never seen or heard from ever again.
sure, like the battery technology and who killed the electric car, or Gillette's plans for an 8-blade razor that's going to upset the 5-blade razor market.
Exactly, exactly. So the good thing about Bitcoin is that you can't shelve Bitcoin. You can't. Nobody can buy it. Nobody can shelve it. So as long as it's introduced properly within the financial system, within the currency system, within the history system, because this is I mean, I truly believe that in 20 to 30 years, our kids are going to be learning about how Bitcoin came into existence in grammar school. So that's how heavily I believe in it. So I try to teach every day somebody about what Bitcoin really is, what it stands for, what it's going to be, what it was. Okay, so, and how it has evolved. And I come to find that I'm in my 40s. So whenever I talk to a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old about it, a lot of people don't even know about it yet.
It's amazing.
Or
Even
not.
after all the ads and all the stories and the price and everything that happened, yeah, people still haven't even heard of it.
Heard of it? Yes. They haven't even heard of it, or they're not sure of what it is. They think it's an actual coin. I'm like, okay, you know what, man? Just let me send you a YouTube video. Just watch it, and just kind of see if you can make sense of it. And then they come back to me and they're like, oh, I get it now. Okay. So now that you get it, what are you going to do about it? Do you believe in it? Well, yeah, but I don't have $7,000 or $6,000 to put into a Bitcoin. Okay, let me send you another video how you can buy just a part of a Bitcoin. Can you put $20 away a week? Can you put $40 away a week and buy Bitcoin with it? Well, yeah, I can. Okay, well, let me send you another video. So it's like I have to take baby steps with introducing what Bitcoin is, how to buy it, what you can buy with it, and I mean, I'm 40 and I use YouTube for everything. My
YouTube's
kids
amazing. It's
are,
awesome.
in their teens, and they use YouTube for everything. So YouTube has been a big outlet on how to how should I say this, educate everybody about what blockchain and Bitcoin and everything really is about. So my question that I call in with is, what are the universities doing? Does anybody know? Has anybody done any research in finding out what these universities are teaching about Bitcoin? Now, we know that universities are some of them are heavily vested in blockchain technologies, as to, creating, cryptographic programs and everything that goes associated with it. But those are the cream of the crop that get picked in those universities that get to code that. What are they telling the masses at the universities?
Well, I know we had that one guy call up here, and he was having a Bitcoin course at his university. I think it was a junior college, maybe. And he seemed very positive about Bitcoin. He was teaching all of the past and the future and the history. I think generally they're going to teach it as a financial instrument and another option. And the main thing for me is we just need to be in the conversation. There are kids out there that when you tell them about Bitcoin, you tell them a little bit about it, they're going to go home and read more about it. And we just need to turn them on. If they teach, even if they taught it as a negative thing and they're like, Bitcoin is bad and it's going to destroy the whole economy, you know how kids are. You teach them a negative thing, they're going to read five more books about it instead of just one. So I'm not that concerned about a university conspiracy stopping Bitcoin. It is curious to see what they're teaching, but I'm pretty sure it would be above the board. I know a long time ago you could take the Stanford classes online, so I think you could still do that for the Stanford Bitcoin class, and probably for the MIT Bitcoin class they have the open courseware. You could actually go in and see the syllabus, and you could see the required reading and all that kind of materials there. Some of them, I think you could even watch the lectures and listen to them. So I'm not that worried about it. It is a concern if there was a way to change Bitcoin into a left wing thing or a right wing thing. I really think the beauty of Bitcoin is that the basic values of 21 million units and the halvening and the one-way sending, as long as we maintain those basic values, the world around it can change and Bitcoin will still be there. So I think we'll be fine.
Well, I agree. Well, I think I'm going to start doing a little bit of research myself and seeing maybe on my free time, kind of call some colleges, local universities, and see exactly what programs they have, if any, or maybe ask some kids, and, ask some students or some college students
And maybe you could even sign up and take the course.
college.
If it's a community college or they sell individual courses, sign up and take it, or maybe audit it. You could go in and just take the class, sit on the side, take notes, be cool, ask questions. It will be an interesting experience. I definitely think you should check it out.
Well, awesome, man. Well, keep up the good work, brother.
All right. Thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. You can call us now at 518-600-1949 or at Skype World Crypto Network. What do you think about the universities? Is the caller right to be concerned? I know that a lot of the universities are very left wing now. When I went to school, it wasn't really that way, so I don't have that experience. Hello, caller. Let's see, one at a time. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. It's Jeremy from Montreal, Quebec. We spoke a little while ago.
How's it going, Jeremy? What's on your mind today about Bitcoin?
I don't know if you've covered this story or not. I noticed it, and then I didn't really hear people talking about it. Maybe I missed it. Have you heard about the Bill Cosby thing where he's trying to hide his money in Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, we talked about it a little bit the other day. I thought it was really interesting, and I also thought that it was like the Chuck Schumer speech against the Silk Road, where he got up there and he was very mad. And I think it was early; it was like 2013 or even maybe before my time, 2013, 14, something like that. But he told everyone, "No, don't use the Silk Road," and how evil it was. And everyone went home and they wrote it down. They're like, "What is this Silk Road thing?" And I think in the same way, Bill Cosby might be the canary in the coal mine for this beginning of something I talked about years ago, that if you're getting divorced and you need money to disappear, Bitcoin or even Monero or one of these crazy altcoins, it might work for you. I'm not giving any kind of legal advice, and I certainly don't do this, but there's a lot of court cases where having your money in a bank account gets it counted and gets it split up. And the word, at least according to that Radar Online article from yesterday, is that Bill Cosby is now doing this. What do you think? Is he going to get away with it?
I think obviously he will get away with this portion of it, but I think, like you said, it's a good canary in the coal mine. This is a great test case. You only know how strong Bitcoin is when it gets attacked. So, you know, people try one thing on it, and then it survives the attack, and it becomes a stronger currency because of it, because of the attacks. It gets battle hardened. So an interesting way to get battle hardened would be Bill Cosby, super famous, the most famous rapist potentially out there. And he's trying to hide his money from his wife, the government, from whoever, before going to jail. And if he's got millions of dollars in this, and the government, try as it might, fails to get it, it would be even better if, it would be even more, when I say better, I mean better like as publicity for Bitcoin, for people to hear about it and learn about it, and see that really when you control your private keys, that you control your Bitcoin. You have one Bitcoin, it's yours forever. No one can take it, you're in control of it. And it would be really a great test case if like people are like, oh, Bill Cosby has 750 Bitcoin, and some bureaucrat somewhere or judge or whatever demands that he pay it, you know, and he's going to be sitting off in a jail, and they, you know, they make their order, they go in the court and they say, okay, we know that you have it, give it to us. We've demanded, you know, you're you're in jail for life, but now give up your money, and he may as well just say no and show that it in his particular situation that it fails. They can't just confiscate it. As long as he keeps the private keys, it can't be confiscated. I don't know how. I don't know.
There's also a possibility that he could say that he lost the money.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if he just says that he lost the money? I put it into crypto, and I'm kind of stupid. I'm an old man, and I lost the money. What can they do then?
That's a great one. I think I was listening once to Fluffy Pony, the Monero guy, and he was talking to somebody, and it was all about, he starts off the conversation with something, oh, didn't you hear about my unfortunate boating accident where I lost all of my private keys? You know, I wish that the crypto market was doing better for me, but everything is gone, sadly. And he was doing like wink, 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 wink. So yeah, he could say the same thing. Cosby could say the same thing. Oh yeah, I had the 750 Bitcoin, but yeah, I don't know where. I'm so old, I can't remember how to access it. Or my lawyer or my nephew did it for me. I just don't know how to access it. But
I'm interested on what this might do to the soul of a country. Let's imagine for a little bit. Let's say that Bill Cosby has $500 million in his fortune. Let's say, for argument's sake, that he put all of it into Bitcoin. So he's got $500 million in Bitcoin. We've traced the address. We know right where it is. It's not moving without us monitoring it. And he's in jail. Let's say that Bitcoin keeps going up in value, like we've been saying for all these years, and that it goes up, and suddenly Bill Cosby has $5 billion and he's in prison, or maybe he has $50 billion and he's in prison. At what point does the government of the United States, and let's try, what if he was in Venezuela? What if he was in Brazil? What if he was in Germany? I mean, all these different kind of moral questions. At what point does the government work out a deal with Bill Cosby where they say, you've got $5 billion, our GDP is $5 billion, give us $1 billion and we'll give you a nicer prison cell? At what point do they start to it's a slippery slope, right? At a certain point, 5 billion, 50 billion, 500 billion, a trillion. At what point does Bill Cosby get out of jail because he held his money in Bitcoin? What do you think about that?
It's a very interesting point. They've had those sorts of things before. I didn't watch the whole documentary, and I'm not very well versed in Mexican cartels. But there's the story of one of these major guys in Mexico, how when he eventually got captured, I think he built the prison himself, and he made it like a mansion, his particular jail cell. And it was kind of like a wink wink with the Mexicans. They couldn't take him down because he was too powerful, but they could get it a fake. It looks like he's in prison because he's in basically his house at that point.
And that's what it looked like in Goodfellas too. They were working on the spaghetti sauce and they were cooking, and it looked like they had a clubhouse, and they smuggled everything in. It did, it does seem again like prison. You can buy yourself a nicer situation, which doesn't say much for the idea of justice.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you would assume that there would be some kind of we would hope that there'd be equal justice under the law, especially for people once they're convicted. I mean, you've got your sentence. There should be no difference between the two people behind bars. But look, the whole system has issues. It's riddled with issues, and the jailing system. So many people behind bars for non-violent crimes, crimes that are not against other people but just to themselves, like taking drugs and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that could be done in the prison system other than making sure that people get equal or fair treatment behind bars. But let's take your example that he starts getting worth more and more money. I don't know if in America they say they don't deal with terrorists or negotiate with terrorists. I don't know what type of things they would give him like weekends off or a comfy bed to sleep on. But you're right. Maybe if he was in a different jurisdiction or somebody else was in a different jurisdiction, I think of course somebody being very, very wealthy can help them out in their attempts to get whatever better treatment they can or to get out a little bit earlier. But the main thing that I see on this case is that if he's really doing this and they really are trying to get the money, how it's going to be on all sorts of the regular mainstream news. It's going to be in People magazine, Entertainment Tonight, all of those glitzy Hollywood style magazines and stuff are going to play it up. And you're just going to see, oh, they really can't touch his money. And especially if it's going up in value, up and up in value, this could be like, they talk about Satoshi's coins or stuff like that. Imagine everybody's going to always be talking about, oh yeah, Cosby's coins. I wonder what's happening with them. He can't spend them, he's in jail. But boy, he's worth millions or billions, etc.
Oh, you're right. It's got all the alliterative properties. You can say Bill's Bitcoins or Cosby's coins, and you can cover it every day. Yeah, I think it would be interesting if he held out. We do have kind of a situation like this. Presumably, Ross Ulbricht must have more Bitcoins. I don't want to rat the guy out, but he was the Dread Pirate Roberts. He had a bunch of money back in the day. He's got to have some kind of address somewhere. I'm not saying that he could make a deal, but if he wasn't in the U.S., I think he'd have a better chance of making a deal. And there's got to be some kind of third world country somewhere, developing country somewhere, where they would make you a deal and where you could buy your way out of prison. It's an interesting new idea that if you have a certain amount of Bitcoin, like we have our Tallycoin fundraiser right here, maybe if the Tallycoin got to a certain level, we could buy our way out of prison, and they just wait. And they come to you and they're like, oh yeah, that Bitcoin you're holding, it matured and we're letting you out of jail now if you'll give us all the Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a sad situation that we were in, but I think that you're I think you're on the ball with it, that if somebody were to hold billions of dollars and we're in jail, that could help them get out. That could.
Well, and instead of buying cigarettes when you're in prison,
something's going to help them get out of jail. I don't know what it's going to be. Some law somewhere is going to be overturned. That case eventually is going to be looked at. I feel it's like this really slow growth of people becoming more and more aware that he was just running a marketplace and he wasn't the guy that was doing anything wrong or anything illegal personally. It's whether it was
sadly the people he needs on his side are the people who are doing the same thing. He needs the guy that owns Craigslist. He needs the people that own Google. He needs everyone like Yahoo, all the people that benefit from the common carrier cause, which allows them to say, oh, we just built a website, then people used it for dirty things. None of those people are getting his back. And of course, the judge in the case rejected the common carrier defense, saying that essentially Ross built a crack house and that he designed it to be a crack house with all these hidden compartments and ways to sell crack. And I'm not so sure that his forum software was that unique. I don't think that putting up categories that are like, unfortunately, maybe he put up a heroin category. I don't know. But putting up a heroin, cannabis, drugs category, having different categories, I don't think makes it that. But that was what the judge said during the trial. So good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he got caught for that, and it's unfortunate that the judge ruled in the way that he did, like you're saying. But I think down the road, it might take some time for people to sit in prison for a while before the right people come in place or the right arguments and appeals and such eventually bubble up to where it needs to get to. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to stay his whole life in jail. I just don't see it happening. And there's that other guy that's a similar case. What's that? What's the mega upload guy that's from, I think, Australia or New Zealand?
Yeah, it's Kim.com, but I'm not so sure. I think he might. Libertarians don't really vote. So libertarians don't have any representatives. There's not. They're talking about a big blue wave in November, but they're not talking about a big libertarian wave. So I do hope that someday Ross gets out somehow and that some president pardons him. But it's going to take a lot to get the president to pardon someone so involved in the drug war like Ross Ulbricht. So he's kind of tied up in there.
All right. Well, freedom catches up on people. What I mean by that is, like, once more people, let's say, you're having more freedom to smoke marijuana in Colorado and various other states around America, and then they modify the drug laws. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure for people that are behind bars especially for drugs, that eventually they realize it's a victimless crime and that they need to revisit and potentially release people that are behind bars for those reasons.
All right, I got one more question before I let you go.
We're getting it in a month from now. The whole of Canada, we're getting marijuana is going to be legal. I think the U.S., all of the U.S. will change very soon.
It's on its way there. It's looking good. But let's talk about Ross Ulbricht, the movie. I think it all hinges on who makes the movie. There's a rumor out there that the Coen brothers will make the movie. Now, if the Coen brothers make the movie, it'll be kind of like Burn After Reading. There'll be a kidnapping plot involved, and everything will be kind of farcical, right? The FBI agents will be idiots. Ross will be kind of an idealistic moron. This could be good for his character. It could make people laugh about it. On the other hand, there could be a dark version of the movie where Ross is emotionless and he does these hits and he doesn't care and he's a mob boss and he's the Dread Pirate Roberts. Which movie do you think they'll make? And will the movie make or break Ross? Is it as important as I'm saying?
I never thought of this before, but now that you're saying that, I strongly believe there would be a difference. I think that movies affect people's views on things. If you see an anti-Vietnam War movie, you're going to come out thinking, "Oh my God, what a waste of bloodshed." Whatever your opinion would have been had you looked at, let's say, I don't know, some news articles that were a little bit less propaganda or leaning one way or the other. And so if you didn't know anything about Ross other than a movie that comes out, I think lots of the population will be swayed by it. And so, yeah, it makes a difference. That's my first view on it. And which way would it go? I think Hollywood would, if it were to be made, I think they'd try to make a sympathetic. I think they'd make him a sympathetic character. I don't think they'd make him this, bloodthirsty villain trying to hire, put like, what's it called, hits on people to kill people and stuff like that. I think that was all dismissed. I think it's all about drugs, and if it's about drugs, I think Hollywood can make a very sympathetic drug movie about, a drug dealer. If they have Breaking Bad where they make, crystal meth, you don't look at the main character necessarily. You're not reviled by him and what he's doing. You kind of get into the whole Hollywood of it. Ooh, he's cooking meth. He's making millions. How's he going to spend it? How's he going to evade the cops? You make it exciting like that, and I think that's the direction that Hollywood would take it. I don't think they'd go against him and demonize him.
And I've got here's our basis for the screenplay. This is what the screenplays will be based on. This Wired article called The Untold Story of the Silk Road, Part 1. This one really does go through everything, how Ross was working in the coffee shop. It has quotes from the Dread Pirate Roberts diaries, so on and so forth. Or this book called American Kingpin. I haven't read it yet. It said on the website I bought one, but no one ever shipped it to me. But this is written by Nick Bilton. The family, Ross Ulbricht's family, was very upset at this book. They don't like it. As you can see in the subtitle, it says, "The Epic Hunt for the Criminal Mastermind Behind the Silk Road." So this would probably be the more negative type hit piece. This guy wrote the book about Twitter called Hatching Twitter. I think that was supposed to be a TV show. I'm not sure why it's not a TV show yet. I want to watch it. but it's a great book about the inside of Twitter. And I imagine this is also a great book about Ross, even though the family was upset about the negative portrayal. But that's, I think, what it comes down to. One of these two, or perhaps both of them, will be made into movies. The movie will decide how the public sees Ross. So the libertarians, if they want to have their libertarian hero, they need to get the screenplay together, and it needs to be all about how he made this market. And at the end of it, you need to say how like he improved all these people's lives because they got medicine thanks to Ross, and so on and so forth. Clock is ticking.
Yep. I don't know enough people in Hollywood or have enough libertarian friends to manipulate which movie is going to be the one to be made. But yes, if anybody ever asks me which version I'd like to see, I'd prefer to see Ross the hero somehow than the villain.
And that's what they should be raising money for then, not the pardon, not the legal system, but the movie. They should be talking to Alex Winter, their friend from Bill and Ted. They should get Keanu Reeves on this thing. They should get Keanu Reeves basically to put some money and some connections into this thing. And they should get the positive Ross Ulbricht movie out before the negative Ross Ulbricht movie. And they should try to make it a better movie if they can, so on and so forth.
Great. So you're saying he needs a publicist more than he needs a lawyer. Anyways,
You know,
I gotta go.
I would say that from the
Pleasure
beginning.
talking to you today.
Sure. Thanks so much for the call. I think we're going to talk some more about this, and we'll have some other callers. But give us a call again soon.
Oh, great. Have a good day.
Much. But yeah, I agree with the caller. I think he's nailed it right here, Jeremy from Montreal, when he says that Ross needs a publicist more than he needs a lawyer. Unfortunately, I think this has been true from the beginning. I've talked about this several times, and I don't like to kick the family when they're down. I don't think that's cool. But when she folded during the trial, people were there to protest. They were there to make Ross a folk hero and to basically explain to people that he ran a free and open market. The results of it are the results of it. And to not focus on the ridiculousness of these hits, which were fake hits, which were encouraged by the FBI agents, who were fake FBI agents who went literally to jail after this case. The FBI agents who investigated Ross went to jail, and they weren't able to tell the jury that. That was kept from the jury. So what they did is they threatened Ross's mom, and they said that the protesters are working on jury nullification. We don't like this. We're going to sequester the jury unless you tell the protesters to leave. And all she had to do is say, I have no power over the protesters. But instead, she went to the protesters and begged them to leave. And the protesters are trying to do a nice thing for a nice lady, so they left. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Thomas. It's Russell. I'm actually in Arkansas right now.
All right, Russell, how's it going today from Arkansas?
I'm doing better than I was yesterday, but not as good as I'll be tomorrow.
There you go. A little bit of price up helps. I don't know if it's going to stay. A lot of people are saying this is another dead cat, or it's another bounce and it goes up and it goes down, but it sure is encouraging, and it looks like it took some of the alts up with it. So not bad, huh?
Right. Well, you've had a lot of good calls on today. I've been trying to call ever since that first call. I've been yelling at my phone and agreeing with all this stuff, and I finally got through. I just wanted to make a comment about something that the first caller was saying. He was talking about, and a lot of the things that he said were succinct and very good. But there's one thing that I don't necessarily agree with or disagree with, but it caused me a little bit of concern. It's like he was talking about, he's concerned about all these people who don't know about the why Bitcoin was created. All they care about is where the money is on Bitcoin. All they care about. My thinking in that area is, and I think I posted it on the chat. I think I was able to do that. My thought was, who cares why they got in? Who cares what keeps them in it? As long as they get in and stay in it. I don't care if, if somebody is in Bitcoin and they stay in it, and the only reason they stay in it is because they think they're going to be a billionaire. If that's what keeps them in Bitcoin, you know what? They have the right for that to be the reason that they're in Bitcoin. Who are we to be so concerned about why they're in Bitcoin? If they're in Bitcoin and they get the benefit from it, it's not hurting Bitcoin that they don't give a damn about what Bitcoin stands for. That all they care about Bitcoin is that they're going to get money from it. If that's what brings them into Bitcoin and that's what keeps them into Bitcoin, I don't think any of us should care about that as long as they're staying in Bitcoin. They don't have to be in there for your reasons. My reasons are the reasons I'm in. Thomas's reasons are the reason Thomas is in. And Joe Blow over in China is in Bitcoin for the reasons that he's in Bitcoin. So I don't think we should, yes, it's good to know about the principles of Bitcoin and such like that. But that's my opinion, and that's how I follow it. That's how I've learned in my process. But that doesn't mean that your process is going to be the exact same way that mine is. If your process is all about money and that's what keeps you there, good. You're staying there. That's how I look at it. And Bitcoin doesn't give a dang what anybody thinks about Bitcoin. Bitcoin just goes on being Bitcoin.
Absolutely, Russell. I completely agree with you. It doesn't matter how they got in. It's much like a rock and roll band. I don't care if you came here because you were a fan of Primus and then now you're a fan of my band. I'm happy with that. I don't care what path it took or what other influences led you this direction. And that the people also, I think once they get into Bitcoin, let's say they make a bunch of money, let's say they lose a bunch of money, there's a chance some of them will say, hey, I need to know more about that thing that lost me all that money, or I need to know more about that thing that made me all that money. And then maybe they do get into these ideas that we like, sound money, a limited number of units, a one-way sending, all these kind of things that make Bitcoin cool for the rest of us. Maybe they'll come along to that later, but until then, we need somebody out there planting seeds. And for a long time, it was people like myself and Andreas and Tone and all these other people out there at the conferences talking about Bitcoin, and people on YouTube talking about Bitcoin. And then we were joined by tons more people talking about Bitcoin and talking about the altcoins and talking about the trading and the markets and all that. And already the ecosystem has grown, more than I can possibly imagine. And do I wish it would go back to the old days where it's just me and Let's Talk Bitcoin talking about Bitcoin? Sure, that'd be fun, but I don't wish for that. I don't expect that. Bitcoin's out of the box now. It's not going to be our little Bitcoin anymore. And for a while, it was the libertarians' Bitcoin, and for a while, it was the cypherpunks' Bitcoin. And I think I got there towards the end of that. And now it's everybody's Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter how you got in. You still have the chance to learn more. I haven't given up. And I don't think Andreas should either. I think we should welcome these new people, however they get into Bitcoin.
I couldn't agree more wholly. I mean, I got introduced. Here's my case. I got introduced to Bitcoin through a book called When the ATMs Go Dark. It's a kind of a prepper book or whatever thing. The economics are going to destroy in our country are going to go down. Okay. So I got introduced to Bitcoin there, started studying it and stuff like that, got into it about a little bit over a year ago. And then I went down the path of BitConnect. Oh my gosh, everybody. Oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot. Yeah, I was an idiot. Okay, so what? I learned about Bitcoin though. And I was one of the, a lot of people are saying that BitConnect was horrible because it introduced people to it, and then now they're totally turned off to Bitcoin. That may be so, but guess what? It also turned a lot of people on to Bitcoin, and it allowed me the time and the enthusiasm and the excitement that I had. It allowed me to take that and move that into something that I'm able to now actually see starting to come to fruition, starting to see my dollar cost averaging starting to take effect and starting to benefit my actual investment. So, any one path, everybody's path is going to be different. And I don't think any of us have the right to say, you can't do it that way. We can't do it that way. It's got to go this way. No, No, it's got to go whatever way it goes. And Bitcoin, I think one of my favorite sayings is Bitcoin doesn't give a damn. Bitcoin doesn't care how anybody gets into it. All they want is like the road. They want someone to run on it. That's all Bitcoin wants.
I agree with that, and I'm worried about the kind of it's not quite negativity, but it's pretty close to negativity coming out of Andreas lately. He wouldn't go on CNBC. He refused to go on there because he said they only want to talk about the price. And I agree that's true, but I see him as, practically a Yoda or a Ben Kenobi, a Jedi master, where you put him in there and you ask him about the price and he acknowledges your question and maybe gives you a short response, but he comes back with something else about the tech. And him being able to be on such a large platform, delivering that information about the tech, even if it's secondary, I think would benefit everyone. And I'm sure it's, he's got lots of other interviews and lots of things, but we need spokespeople. We need people to go out there and talk about Bitcoin. I haven't watched the new documentary on CNBC. Some people say it's okay. They say it's not that bad. I was worried by the commercial with the kid with the paw gloves and the dyed blonde hair. And he's very enthusiastic, and I don't want to bum him out, but he might not be the best representative for Bitcoin. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Right. Well, again, thanks for taking my call, sir. I definitely enjoy. This has been a very good conversation. You've had a lot of intriguing people talking about that. And I'm horrible with names. I do apologize, but the guy who was building sending out the code to build the gun and all that, and talking about that, and kind of that statement was I was like, yeah, I'm pro gun rights and whatever. That's a great thing about Bitcoin is we all can have different political, social agendas or opinions or whatever. But we can also be friends and talk about Bitcoin, something that we love. But I'm not sure, even though I am a pro-gun person, I'm not sure I want something like that out and to be connected to Bitcoin, because I think it puts the wrong light on what Bitcoin is trying to do. I don't think Bitcoin is anything to do with guns. Not saying that guns won't be on Bitcoin. I'm saying I don't think Bitcoin is about building guns. I think it's about building a financial security for its users, and that's what Bitcoin and innovation. That people get to keep their intellectual rights, et cetera, all those benefits that Bitcoin has. That's where I think it's going towards. It's not necessarily going towards, oh yeah, we're going to build guns. So
it's kind of like free speech, though, right? Because free speech is one of those things where I say, oh, I like free speech and I like to have my free speech, but then I have to defend the rights for the Nazis to have free speech and so on and so forth. If you like guns and you like gun rights, in a way, you kind of have to defend the gun rights of the 3D printed gun as well. And remember, the other problem with the 3D printed gun is it's mostly made out of plastic. So essentially, you have a system for bypassing metal detectors if you can find another way to get the bullets and maybe the hammer through. I'm pretty sure the rest of the gun is mostly plastic, and of course, 3D printers print in plastic. Although they told me yesterday there's some new ones that are printing in metal. So it's getting very exciting in the 3D printer world. But yeah, it's not something we want to be linked to, but it's something we're kind of stuck with. Right? The gun supporters, you get to go hunting, but you also got that guy that's doing the movie In the Line of Fire, and Clint Eastwood, and he's trying to take down the president and so on and so forth. These things are unavoidably connected. So Bitcoin's free speech and code, and
I agree with that. I believe I don't believe my wishes, whether I think Bitcoin should be connected to it or not. I don't believe that my wishes, my desires, should infringe on the rights of other people. So I was in the military, and I was willing to, fight for other people's rights, whether those rights agreed with mine or not. As long as their rights don't infringe on other people's rights and don't imprison them in one way or another, then I'm all for their rights to be upheld, and they get to practice that, because that's what America's founded on. It's founded on equal rights. Every person has the right to their own beliefs, their own way of living. Again, as long as that does not infringe on the other's rights. So that's why I joined the military, because I believe in that ideal of what America should be, what America strives to be, in my opinion. So that's what I feel.
All right. Thanks so much for your opinion, Russell. It's good to have you on the show. Thanks so much for the call. All right. And we might have time, maybe one more caller. Thanks, Russell. Thanks to everybody who called today. I think we had some really good calls on the show. We might just head towards the end of the show, though. So the price of Bitcoin is around $7,012. Like Russell said, I do think we've had a lot of great calls today, calls from all over the spectrum, and that the show is really starting to work, that people are getting really good at calling in, having an interesting topic, maybe a little 5-minute thing. Let's see. Oh, we'll try one more call. I might take a break. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Nicholas, and I'm calling from Portland, Oregon.
All right, Nicholas. How's it going today from Portland?
Good. How are you doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. Near the end of the show, might let you tell a story for a little sec, and I'll be right back. Why don't you tell the people what's on your mind about Bitcoin?
What's going on in my mind? Or
Sure. What's been going on? How'd you get into Bitcoin? Why are you into Bitcoin? Just a little bit.
yeah, I've been in Bitcoin over the last year and a half or so. Primarily interested to see how we can disintermediate banks. Interested to see the geopolitical shift that we will see, the transfer of wealth from fiat currencies into crypto digital assets. I believe a lot in the Bitcoin. I'm leaning I'm probably 60% maximalist, 40% have some belief in the altcoin market, which is kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to call, and I had a few questions regarding the Bitcoin blockchain, if you had, or maybe I can save it for another time. Let's see what else. I'm really excited. There's just lots of great news coming out. The backed by the ICE CEO. I'm really excited about that. The ETFs coming out. I do believe ETFs are going to be a huge role. I know there's some speculation how ETFs might be lead, not necessarily positive for Bitcoin, but I think the ETFs will be that Trojan horse that'll bring Bitcoin into the fiat currency. I think as soon as we get the ETFs through, that it'll be really difficult for the governments to actually ban Bitcoin, especially in the U.S. When there's so many investors highly invested in Bitcoin. I think it's going to be very difficult for the U.S. government to actually block or try to ban Bitcoin at that point, as so many investors will be in the ecosystem. And if the government tries to put the hammer down, I'm sure those investors are just going to kind of lawyer up.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that's possible.
really.
But isn't it strange to be into Bitcoin from kind of the beginning and to see it as an anti-bank movement? But now we see all the banks coming into Bitcoin. Do you think we can withstand this, or are the banks going to change us?
Yeah. So Thomas, I had a quick question.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I don't know how quick it'll be, but I was listening to Jimmy's song the other day, and he was talking about how the Bitcoin blockchain has the ability to implement smart contracts, kind of how people can do so on the Ethereum blockchain. And I think that was his big argument for the Bitcoin being the one and true blockchain. Kind of how we only have one internet. I don't know if you can kind of speak to that or you know anything about that.
Sure, I could talk a little bit about that. Originally, when Vitalik was going to start Ethereum, he was actually going to do it on Bitcoin. and that he wanted certain changes to be made to Bitcoin so that his project would work on there. And the Bitcoin engineers at the time said that they couldn't make those changes. They didn't like what it would do to Bitcoin. So Vitalik went his own way and wrote his own project and made lots of money and all that stuff. I think the specific advantage of Ethereum contracts that they used to talk about in the day is that they were Turing complete, so that you could run them and some kind of thing. So I don't think that the Bitcoin contracts are the same as the Ethereum contracts. They might be kind of like a lesser version. But I do think that you can run smart contracts on Bitcoin and that things might roll back that way. There's a project called Blockstack, and they're doing it so that you can have an identity database on the blockchain, and they're storing their data in other places, and they're using the blockchain as kind of an intermediary. I think that's really interesting. There's also Rootstock. I think they're actually going to do smart contracts on Bitcoin. So yeah, it's been a pretty common Bitcoin maximalist argument that everything the altcoins can do eventually will be done by Bitcoin. I talked a little bit about that Dandelion project this morning. I talked about that before. It sounds really interesting, a great way to make Bitcoin more anonymous and to put us on that path. And once again, that's why people are probably Bitcoin maximalists, because they do think it'll all come back to Bitcoin again eventually. What do you think?
When in this theoretical Bitcoin maximalist world where Bitcoin is the one true blockchain and the only thing in existence, and it needs to process a smart contract, would it just be like, you would just use like Bitcoin to pay for that contract, or do we know like how much the theoretical cost per transaction would be?
I think that's the same thing. Just all these altcoin projects, instead of creating your own altcoin, you just use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So Ethereum, they created Ether and they created gas, and you have to buy the Ether to get the gas to run the smart contract. Or you could just use Bitcoin to run the smart contract. I mean, there's a lot of obfuscation, a lot of like multiple layers that people are building. And for me, it looks like all these layers are just going to go up and come right back down. So we'll just have to wait.
Yeah. So what would be the gas for Bitcoin, or what would would it be like a percentage of a Satoshi?
I think it would probably go towards Lightning Network, right? If we could run the contract over Lightning Network, then you could send a smaller amount of money to it, and then you could have a more trivial contract. So.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was just kind of wrap my head around it. Like, I feel like Bitcoin is good for money, but to use it as I don't know, like to run alternative applications, decentralized applications. I don't know. Like, I guess I kind of see the use case in alternative blockchains for specific use cases, rather than seeing Bitcoin as an all-encompassing that can do everything. I don't know. So I'm still back and forth on the Bitcoin maximalist versus, multiple blockchains. And then they have that argument, well, there's only one internet and not multiple internets. But I don't know.
That's right. Well, and remember, the way that Bitcoin changed after the SegWit upgrade is that you can now link directly to a Bitcoin transaction. I think it's more complicated than that, but at its basic level, my understanding is that they have a unique identifier. So this makes side chains, all these other projects, Lightning Network possible. And for a long time, there's been an idea about altcoins on Bitcoin, and that you could do a Bitcoin-backed altcoin. So like when Counterparty was first starting, Counterparty had like 5 Bitcoins, or a lot of money, not that much back in the day, and they burnt it, right? And they burnt it as like proof of the investment in Counterparty. But what they said with these new side chains is that you could do a side chain. You could say, okay, I'm going to put 1 Bitcoin in the side chain. That's $7,000 today. So then you print a bunch of altcoins. And at the end of the day, you're like, well, my altcoin project didn't work out, so I'm going to cash those altcoins back into this Bitcoin. And that you might be able to roll up the side chain, and everyone would get their money back. They would get a little bit of that Bitcoin in exchange for their side coin altcoins. So this could be the ICOs or the new altcoins or temporary altcoins of the future, and it could all be on Bitcoin. The worry is, like you say, you don't want to overload Bitcoin, or you don't want to drag down Bitcoin. But the way they might be able to make these hooks is that they might not affect each other. and both systems might be able to just continue on. So it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah, thank you, Thomas, for all that wonderful information. It certainly brought a lot of clarity to it.
Definitely.
It'll be interesting to see how everything unfolds in the next 5-10 years.
We'll have to see how it goes, and definitely give us another call. Thanks so much for your call.
All right. Thanks, Thomas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And it seems like we have a lot of calls today, so we'll try to keep going as long as we can get calls. So I have no water left, so we're going for a little while until my throat gets too dry. But maybe 1 or 2 more calls, or we might head to the end. We had a really good chat today, a lot of good calls. People are having fun in the chat. I don't know, but I think we should go towards the end of the show. My 2 hours is a long time to talk. But thanks again to everybody who called in. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a share. That really does help more people find the show. And be sure to subscribe down below. As always, you can donate to our QR codes, or if you want to donate with your credit card, you can sign up at World Crypto Network on Patreon, or Mad Bitcoins on Patreon. We had some success with the Tallycoin fundraiser today. Today, as a total, we raised 0.00958086 Bitcoin, almost as much as we raised the other day when we raised 0.015. Pretty nice stuff. So keep those donations coming. Remember, we're going to hodl this until it reaches $1 million, or until some big miner or some big early Bitcoiner comes in here and says, "Oh, I think we should give those guys $1 million. I want to see what will happen." So thanks so much for joining us. The price of Bitcoin is $7,016. Might have gone over the mountain there, but we'll have to see how that goes. Until next time, bye-bye.